I've been very interested for some time in trying to determine what a 21st century education really is. And I like to ask that question. What is a 21st century education? And I have my students start by reading Friedman's The World is Flat. It's the whole idea of the globalization of our culture, our economy, and the emerging trends that are taking place in our world today are creating a very different world than we had in the 20th century. That leads us to ask the question, what kinds of education do we need? The Partnership for the 21st Century lists several skills, including collaboration, cooperation, communication, creative thinking. And when we talk with CEOs of major international companies, they tell us they want people who can think outside the box, who can think creatively, who can innovate, who have an entrepreneurial background, not one of conformity, not one of pleasing the authority figure, which is so prevalent in our 20th century schooling.
I know one thing that you've done very successfully is engage with some of our students who are international students. And I think of Ashad Bashir, who came here as a biology teacher years ago and came back into the doctoral program, and you worked with him there and then worked with him extensively, I believe, over the years. Can you say a little bit about that experience?
Absolutely. It developed into a Fulbright Scholarship for me to go to Islamabad and work with ComSat's University and help them develop a distance ed program to reach particularly the women students in the tribal areas. The issue they were facing was not one of not educating the women, it was of allowing the women or requiring the women to go to residential schools in the cities for during the week for classes and just be on the weekends. And that was not acceptable to their culture. But putting kiosks out in the tribal regions was very acceptable, and so they were trying to develop this distance ed program. They've made some significant progress in that direction.
What are some suggestions, communication strategies, just some ways to raise awareness of existing and new opportunities for faculty here in the college? What would be some ways for us to move forward with that?
I think we need to have some faculty-wide, college-wide, including the students, not just the faculty, but the students, in various seminars, bringing in some folks who have been doing this in other colleges and universities around the state and around the country, and see how they're doing it, what they're doing, and what the effects are of it. We can't take everybody overseas. We can't bring everybody from overseas here, but we've got the technology to connect people all over the world. Another thing I've been doing is having guest speakers come into my classes using Zoom as a vehicle and talk about teaching and learning in their particular school and country. For instance, last night I had a teacher who is a professional teacher in Raleigh who is currently teaching in Beijing. This is a school that costs about $35,000 for a student to go to, and so about 98% of their graduates, I'm told, come to American universities when they graduate. And to hear his version of their education is quite interesting, and my students were fascinated by it. But it wasn't just the educational system that he was talking about, but the culture as a whole in China and how different it is than our own. And so he spent an hour and 15 minutes just chatting with my students, answering their questions in a dialogue kind of format. It was very effective. So different from reading a book.